Taylor Swift sat on Kelly Clarkson's pale blue couch, ankles crossed, hands clasped so tightly around her tea mug that her knuckles looked white under the stage lights. The studio audience leaned forward, that polite hush thick enough to feel in the back of the throat. Kelly glanced at her stack of note cards, forcing her warm grin to hold even as the tension pulsed at the edges. Kelly tried to start it light. "Taylor, everyone knows you as this generation's biggest pop star, but you've always said you're a storyteller. Lately, you've been telling bigger stories, speaking out, pushing people to vote, fighting for artists' rights. Some people think you've gone too far." Taylor's smile was tight, but real. "I think people underestimate how much truth matters when you have a platform. If you have a voice, you should use it." A small clap from the front row fizzled fast under the hush. Kelly glanced at her producer offstage, then leaned in. "But don't you think it's a lot? Telling your fans how to think, how to feel. Some say you're crossing a line." Taylor didn't flinch. "I don't tell anyone what to think. I tell them what I know. And what I know is this country doesn't work unless people show up and speak out." A cough broke near the back row. The hush snapped around it. Kelly's voice stayed sweet, but her tone sharpened like a nail behind soft velvet. "You're the biggest star on the planet. You fill stadiums. Do you really believe folks working 2 jobs need Taylor Swift telling them how to live?" Taylor's eyes narrowed just enough to sting. "I think the folks working 2 jobs deserve more than lies sold to keep them quiet." The hush bent closer. Kelly shifted in her chair, flipping her note cards like they might give her an escape hatch. "But some people say you're just another millionaire who got political when it was convenient." Taylor set her mug on the side table with a soft click that carried across the studio. "I got political when I realized silence makes you complicit. When you watch people lose rights and say nothing, you're part of the problem." A single rolled through the audience but died under the hush. Kelly's laugh cracked just enough to show the tension. "So if someone disagrees with you, they're part of the problem?" Taylor leaned forward, elbows on her knees, voice low and steady. "If you defend hate, you're part of it. If you profit off lies, you're part of it. That's not complicated." Kelly's grin faltered, her cards slipping in her hand. "You know you're risking half your fan base when you say things like that." Taylor's smile came back, but the edge stayed cold. "Then maybe they were never really fans, just fair-weather followers who liked the fairy tale more than the truth." The hush braced, because everyone knew the next question would crack it open for good. Kelly Clarkson's fingers tapped the note cards like she could knock the tension loose, but the hush in the room didn't budge. Taylor Swift stayed forward on the couch, eyes locked on Kelly like she wasn't here for the polite version of the truth. Kelly's smile flickered, small and sharp. "Taylor, a lot of people love your songs because they're about heartbreak, hope, and feeling understood. But some say you're pushing fans away with politics. Isn't that the opposite of what you built?" Taylor's laugh came soft, but landed hard. "What I built was honesty. What I built was telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. That hasn't changed." A cough cracked near the front row. The hush snapped it right back down. Kelly's tone sweetened, the edge hidden just under the sugar. "But you didn't used to be this outspoken. Some folks think you're just trying to stay relevant." Taylor's eyes didn't blink. "If staying relevant means standing up for people who don't have my stage, then yeah, I'm guilty." Someone near the band whispered, "Wow." But no music rose to smooth it over. Kelly leaned in, voice tightening. "So what about the fans who feel judged? People who've loved you for years. You think they want to hear you call them part of the problem?" Taylor's lips pressed into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I think they should ask themselves why they feel judged." A stir rippled through the back row. The hush held it down. Kelly's laugh cracked, no longer warm. "You're saying you know better than the people who made you who you are?" Taylor's voice came low, soft enough to sting. "I'm saying silence never saved anyone. If they want a pop star who stays quiet, they can go find one." Kelly's cards dropped into her lap. Her voice snapped, sharp as a slap. "So you're fine losing them?" Taylor's stare didn't flinch. "I'd rather lose fans than lose my spine." A shuffle of feet made the hush bend tighter. No one clapped. No one dared. Kelly's grin was gone now, her voice thin. "What about the labels? The people behind the scenes? They're not happy when you stir things up." Taylor tilted her head, eyes unblinking. "Good. Maybe they'll remember artists aren't puppets." A single, tight laugh cracked from the side row. The hush swallowed it whole. Kelly's hands balled around her cards. "You really think walking out of here with half the room angry makes you a hero?" Taylor leaned back, voice calm as stone. I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm trying not to be a coward. The hush braced, because everyone knew the next words would snap the last smile off for good. Kelly Clarkson's smile had slipped so far it was just her teeth now, clenched tight around the tension. Her note cards stayed crushed in her hand, bent so bad they looked like they might tear. Taylor Swift sat still, hands folded in her lap, like she didn't notice how the hush pressed harder every time she spoke. Kelly's laugh came out flat. You know, Taylor, people watch this show to feel good. They don't want to be called out. They don't want to feel like you think you're better than them. Taylor's voice dropped lower, softer than any song she ever wrote. I don't think I'm better. I think the truth's better than pretending. A cough snapped the back row but died before anyone dared follow it. Kelly leaned forward, voice sharp under the sugar. So you're the big truth teller now? Miss Billionaire Pop Star, saving America one lecture at a time. Taylor's eyes narrowed just a hair. No, but I'm done letting people lie to themselves while they hum along. The hush braced tighter. The camera light above them hummed, so loud you could almost hear it between breaths. Kelly's grin came back, but it didn't reach her eyes. You want a lecture? What about all your private jets? Your mansions? You're burning more fuel than most folks do in a lifetime. Taylor didn't flinch. You're right. I fly. I live large. And I talk about it. But I'm not selling bedtime stories about how the world's fine if we just smile through it. Someone in the audience whispered, she's got a point, but the hush snapped it down. Kelly snapped back, voice brittle as glass. People don't tune in for a guilt trip. They want the old Taylor. Taylor's smile flickered, cold at the corners. The old Taylor knew when to stay quiet to keep the peace. The new one knows that peace built on lies isn't worth it. Kelly leaned back in her chair, her laugh thin. So what? You'd rather walk out than just sing the songs and smile pretty. Taylor's voice stayed calm, every word heavy enough to bend the hush tighter. I'd rather stand up than sit here, making people comfortable in the dark. A chair creaked in the front row. No one clapped. No one breathed too loud. Kelly's eyes narrowed, her fingers tapping the cards again. You're gonna walk out of here and watch your fans turn on you. Taylor didn't blink. If telling the truth costs me fake love, then let it. The hush braced, because everyone knew the next line would shatter the last of the grin. Kelly Clarkson's nails dug into her note cards until the edges crumpled under her grip. Her smile was gone now, replaced by a thin line of frustration she couldn't hide under the warm studio lights. Taylor Swift sat there, ankles crossed, her shoulders steady like she could wait out every fake grin in the world. Kelly's voice cracked, but she forced it back smooth. You know what I think, Taylor? I think you love this. You love playing the victim, the brave rebel, the girl who tells the truth while she cashes the checks. Taylor tilted her head slightly, her eyes steady. You think silence is free? It costs your soul. I'd rather lose the checks. A low mmm rippled through the second row. No one dared clap. The hush pressed it flat. Kelly laughed, bitter this time, not even trying to wrap it in warmth. You're not better than anyone here. These people work. They don't need your guilt. They don't need you calling them out. Taylor's voice came soft, sharp enough to draw blood. Then they can change the channel. But they'll still wake up in a country where their silence keeps the same people in power. Kelly leaned in, her tone snapping. You really think you're changing anything? You think a few hashtags and rants on TV are gonna fix the world? Taylor's jaw flexed, but her words stayed calm. Not alone. But I know this, silence never did. Someone near the back row whispered, she's right. But the hush grabbed it and squeezed it dead. Kelly slammed her cards on the side table, her words rising. You're gonna walk out of here looking like a spoiled brat who couldn't take a few questions. Taylor's smile flickered, small, tired, unafraid. I'm gonna walk out of here the same way I walked in, with my spine. Kelly's voice cut through the hush like a slap. So that's it. You're just gonna run. Taylor's eyes didn't waver. Run? No. But I'm not gonna sit here and sell fairy tales just so you get your applause. The hush braced. The audience held its breath, every seat waiting for the line that would snap it all open for good. Taylor's tone dropped to a whisper that carried further than any shout. Some truths don't fit your couch, Kelly. That's not my problem. Kelly's mouth opened, but no words came. The hush bent closer, the spin cornered with nowhere left to go. Kelly Clarkson's hands hovered above her crumpled note cards, fingers drumming like maybe they could beat the tension out of the room. But the hush held. Taylor Swift stayed seated for half a heartbeat longer, her eyes locked on Kelly's. The mug of untouched tea pushed off to the side like she'd never needed the comfort to begin with. Kelly's voice cracked through the hush, every word brittle as glass. "So that's your big finish, Taylor? You come in here, you preach, you insult the people who pay to hear you sing, and then you walk out like you're some hero?" Taylor's laugh came out low, soft, but sharp enough to cut the hush straight through. "I'm not a hero. I'm not your fairy tale, either." A cough broke from the back row. Nobody dared shush it this time. The hush snapped around it and held its breath for what came next. Kelly's smile was gone, her tone dry. "You know what people are going to say? That you're too big for your boots. That you just love the drama." Taylor stood up slowly, the scrape of her chair on the studio floor louder than the band's instruments had been all day. "Let them say it. At least they'll have to say it to a mirror." Kelly tried to laugh, but it fell flat. "And when your next tour flops, because you couldn't just keep singing and smiling?" Taylor leaned forward just enough to let her whisper sting. "I'd rather stand on an empty stage than fill a stadium with people who want to clap for a lie." A single gasp cracked the front row. A woman's hand flew to her mouth, too late to keep the sound from echoing under the lights. Kelly's fingers clenched tight around the arm of her chair. "You're going to regret this." Taylor's stare didn't flinch. "I've regretted plenty of things. Telling the truth isn't one of them." She turned away from the couch. No wave to the crowd, no forced smile. The hush followed her all the way to the edge of the stage like it knew it was the only honest thing left in the room. The camera tried to follow, but she didn't turn back. The audience sat frozen, stuck between the fairy tale they came for and the truth they'd heard instead. Kelly sat there, alone on her couch, the grin gone, the applause dead, the hush finally cracked open by the silence that stayed when the lie walked out the door.